This is code.org, and here we are in our Traversals Make. Let's see what we're working on. You'll be building a random forecaster app. Awesome. And to do this, we do want to be using our activity guide. So I want to go through part of this and kind of clue you into how to make sure to successfully complete this, well, challenge, this lesson. All right, click on the Get Forecast. Click the button several times to see how the display changes. Alrighty, I can do that. Run and get forecast. I can make this larger. Okay, so yep, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., I guess. Heavy, all right. Birmingham, okay, the weather, yep. Ooh, did you see that image? I think that, ooh, it does change. Okay, so this updates, that updates, that updates. Lots of things are updating. This stays the same. Get forecast. Oh, all right, so what information is needed to create this? Oh, wow, it looks like they almost gave us answers here. What list filtering patterns might be used? So what info is needed? Well, if we look at this honestly, well, the high temp would be needed, the low temp would be needed. The city name, right? We can look at their output right here and it's showing us what might be needed. This app uses the daily weather table. Open the data tab and click on the weather table. Which columns do you think will be used in the app? The columns will be stored as a list. There are 6 columns used in this app. Wow, 6. Okay, so let me see if I can open the data tab somewhere. Let me go ahead now and go to data. And oh, they've already had it loaded in, so daily weather. Okay, these are the columns. You might have to zoom out to see them all because I can see, oh no, mine doesn't have a bar right here, does it? I'm gonna zoom way out to make sure I can see everything. So you can tell right now, right, that is a lot of stuff. So there's a few ways you can export it, and this will open it in Excel for me. It might open yours elsewhere, right? But you want to be able to just make sure you can zoom out. And what I am doing here is control minus sign to do that. You can also do it in the little settings window of Chrome because I want to make sure I can see everything. Whoa, that's way too far out. Okay, now I know. So what are they using here? Well, they're using a high temperature. Does anything say, ooh, look, high temperature. They're using a low temperature. So I'm kind of just going to be matching these up. One I want to point out is keep in mind they have a photo here. So how could they be doing that? What are they using for that? Condition? Honestly, I'm not really sure because condition, wait a minute. Hmm. Oh, I see a lot of different stuff. You want to pay attention when I hit run, what is actually being said? So this says snow right now. That says clouds. So you want to pay attention to what they're actually putting onto the screen to make sure you're matching this stuff up correctly. Okay, so they gave us a forecast number is being used, the number of days from today. Okay, they gave us a conditional list, name of list, condition list. Oh, so that is probably something to do. I don't know, main condition is a condition description. What else? What other columns might be used? Well, look, city output. How are they doing that? Maybe a city list? Oh, they already gave us that. Cool. Okay. Well, then what about the highs and lows? I just said that. So what about the high temperature? That's definitely must be a list. What's stored there? High temperature. Okay. What is it going to be named? That's somewhat up to you. But notice their pattern, city list, condition list. So I don't know, I could do high temp list or high list, anything like that. All right, so that's it for the columns. Let's see here. Filtered list. What list will be filtered? What will be used to filter these lists? Remember, we want to only to display the forecast for tomorrow. There are 5 filtered lists and 1 list which is transversed to filter the other lists. Okay, there are 5 filtered lists. So 5 shrunk, I'm going to put this in words that I think might be a bit easier, shrunk down lists. So we're grabbing data from a few lists, and then one list is transversed, moved through / looked through. Transverse means going from one item to the next. We're moving through it. We're looking through that list to filter it. So to filter the other list. And so they started us off. They're trying to give us hints though. So how are we filtering down the list? If we only want the weather for tomorrow, how are we going to eliminate other options? So we're going to look through these lists, and which list is going to tell us what index, what level of that list, what item number in that list is the weather for tomorrow. Okay, so there are 5 filtered lists that are going to be shrunk down, and one list that is moved through to filter the other list. Notice there's only 5 options. So what's that final one that we're actually going to be using to figure out the weather for a specific day? Because look at this, there's multiple days here. So if you want to make sure your app is only outputting data for just the next day, you're going to want to pay attention to the data that we have access to. For instance, if you look at the days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then it repeats Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Well, notice the numbers next to this. 1215's 1 for a forecast number, 1216's 2. Let's go down to Fairbanks, Alaska, line 5. Nope, line 6. And what is Tuesday again? Oh, look, forecast number 1. So what could we use to grab that next day? And the item that you're filtering by is just that. For instance, if I wanted to filter all of these cities by main condition, well, then I would say I'm going to filter using the main condition list because I want to filter by snow. So I would go through every list and I would say if it's snow here, then I want that info. So my main condition would be the list I'm filtering with. And how that works is I would go to main condition, the first item, which is index 0, but the first item, and say, is it snow? And if it's snow, I would say, okay, add Anchorage to the city list at this index, at this position. The first thing in our list is Anchorage. The second thing is the first thing in the state list that I might have is Alaska. The first thing in my low temperature list would be low temp, right? They're all at the same spot because I'm going through this list at the same time. So then I get to this and look, there's still snow. So that means the third thing in each list, okay, go to the city list, add Anchorage again. That's going to be the third item or the second index. And if we keep going, oh, way down here, Juneau, Alaska. So I guess that will be the fourth. But I'm using the main column to filter because I'm searching for snow. And if it's snow, I'm adding each of these items to the correct list. That's what I mean by filtering. It's a weird concept, but super important. So keep in mind, you want to filter the list. You want to grab all the data from it sounds like from the next day. So how could you go about what column will give you that info? And this one is tricky, so make sure you think about it. There's an easy way to do it, and well, yeah, make sure you're thinking about it. They also give you some hints on the sheet itself. And definitely take a look at the information we've already added and they've added in the example right above, right? What list do we have? How could we use them? So think about if you want to get weather for the next day, what list you would use to filter. All the other lists go here. Okay. Review the list pattern filtering multiple times, okay? All the lists must be the same length for this pattern. Ideally, they are columns pulled from a table. Create a variable for each list. Create blank lists to store the filtered lists. Right here is what they're talking about. Notice the student name list, that must be a blank list. So we have this data, this isn't pulled from a table, they're creating it, but then we are creating a blank list, that's a blank list. In a function, first reset all filtered lists to be blank themselves. So here's my function, filter. So first I'm going to make sure that whatever used to be in these lists is gone. So gone, because we might use this function more than once. That's the point of a function. Use a for loop, yep, for I is equal to 0, I is going to be less than the student grade list. Student grade list is probably the list we are using to filter the others. Right? So, and we are. Notice if student grade list is I is equal to 11, so if the grade's 11, we're adding that information to our other lists, and the for loop goes to the end of the student grade list. Okay, how will the random city be selected? Well, we've seen something like that before, right? How are we going to randomly select a city? Well, we have some code here that will allow us to do that. Think about the random number, right? In the math. How will that information be used to display data from the filtered list? So how are we going to use our random number? We'll say it is 8 this time, right? And that's not what you would type here, but how are we going to use that to display data from our list? Well, I would say that could be used directly almost, right? So if we have correctly filtered our list and we have just the items we need, just those weather forecasts for the next day, then if we randomly do a number, well, we can use that as an index to get our info, Write your code. This is the tricky part and the fun part. So make sure you pay close attention to this. Make sure you have taken some time to actually write in complete sentences, fill this out, and think about it, because it makes our next step so much easier. I'm excited to get started.